Imagine standing at the right hand of a sultan, directing the taxes, the laws, and the military of one of the wealthiest regions on Earth. You decide the fate of millions. Now, imagine walking away from that influence to face a dangerous, completely unknown path. In 16th century Bengal, a man named Sakar Malik lived this reality. As the prime minister to Nawab Hussain Shah, he sat at the pinnacle of the administrative hierarchy, managing the complex machinery of a vast state. Yet, despite this total material success, he lived with a persistent sense of internal weight. For all the luxury of the royal court, he found himself searching for a meaning that political victories and filled treasuries couldn't provide. The resolution to that search began in 1514. Here, among the high brick walls of Ramkeli, the prime minister met the saint Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a meeting that acted as the final catalyst for his transformation. Mahaprabhu gave him a new name, Sanatan, and a new directive. His true purpose was not to serve the sultanate, but to serve as a humble instrument of the divine. This realization reframed his entire world. The palace, the title, and the authority he spent a lifetime building suddenly looked like a gilded prison, making his eventual rebellion a matter of spiritual necessity. Sanatan attempted to resign by claiming he was too ill to attend court, but the Nawab saw through the excuse. Unwilling to lose his most effective minister, the ruler ordered Sanatan to be arrested and locked in a dungeon. While in his cell, Sanatan didn't see a political disaster. He saw a blessing, a forced separation from the worldly comforts that had kept him tethered to his high-ranking post for so long. He managed to bribe his jailkeeper with 7,000 gold coins, instructing the man to tell the Sultan that his prisoner had drowned in the Ganges. With the gates open, he vanished into the night. He crossed the Ganges and pushed through the hazardous Rajmahal hills, traveling along obscure back roads to avoid the Sultan's soldiers, until he finally reached the city of Varanasi. When he arrived at these historic ghats, the transformation was physically complete. The former prime minister of Bengal was now a dusty, bearded beggar, unrecognizable to anyone from his past life. He eventually found Mahaprabhu, who immediately embraced the travel-worn man. In that embrace, the saint validated the physical and social price Sanatan had paid to reach him. For Sanatan, this was the final death of his old identity. To truly surrender, he had to burn his bridges to his former status, his wealth, and his reputation. Sanatan eventually made his way to the forests of Vrindavan. He moved from a palace to the earth, sleeping under a different tree every night, and limiting his rest to just 90 minutes. He survived on madhukari, begging for scraps of dry bread from local homes. It was a total rejection of his former self-sufficiency, placing his survival entirely in the hands of others and the divine. But his administrative genius didn't disappear, it just changed focus. He spent his days excavating forgotten pilgrimage sites and writing the complex theological texts that would define an entire spiritual tradition. His most visible contribution was the discovery of the deity Madan Mohan, which inspired the construction of this massive red sandstone temple, a landmark that still dominates the Vrindavan skyline. By his old age, Sanatan's body had begun to fail. He struggled to complete his daily vow of walking the 14-mile circuit around the jagged rocky base of Govardhan Hill. Tradition records that Lord Krishna appeared to him as a young cowherd boy, offering a small stone from the hill bearing a divine footprint. From that day on, circling that single stone was accepted as circling the entire mountain, an acknowledgement that when physical strength is gone, a sincere heart and a single act of grace are enough to fulfill a vow. Sanatan Goswami walked away from a temporary political kingdom to build a lasting spiritual empire. His journey demonstrates that the greatest wealth isn't what one accumulates, but what one is willing to sacrifice for a higher truth.